Hello, brick sculptors, and welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris, and today I want to talk to you about flooring techniques. We're going to start with some real basic ones, like you see here, and work our way into more complicated ones as we go. So if this is kind of boring to you at the start, keep watching, it will get better. Also, keep in mind, these are just small samples. These are all 8x8 sampling of the floors I've laid out. Especially as you get a more complex pattern, these will look better the bigger they get. So if you do a larger and larger floor, the patterns only get better. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these. These will also apply for small rugs, bedspreads, things like that. But let's go ahead and get started here and take a look at some of these floors. First one here, about as simple as you can get, 2x2 tiles. Now this first batch of flooring I'm going to show you, these are all things that would work well for mimicking a tile floor, maybe a carpeted floor, maybe a linoleum floor, something like that. So these aren't really necessarily going to look like wood. The second half I'm going to show some that look more like wood or stone or brick. So right here, just basic 2x2 tiles in dark tan. If you wanted to mix it up a little bit, use two colors, alternate. So you got every other, looks a little more interesting. Maybe a kitchen floor, restaurant floor, who knows. You can also do three colors and kind of do them in a stripe pattern. You can also do these randomly if you want, make it a little more interesting. So you can definitely work three colors in pretty easily here. In this column here, we've got some tiles that are more linear. So here I've got kind of a staggered look where I went 1x2, 1x4, 1x2, and the next line 1x4, 1x4. So they have a staggered look. I think that looks really nice for like a dressier house, maybe a nicer upper scale business. You could do stripes. To me, this looks more like a carpeting, maybe in a beach house. But yeah, you can do stripes, just alternating colors. You can also do your tiles staggered a little bit more. So here I kind of do like a waterfall pattern. 1x4, 1x3, 1x2, 1x1, 1x4, 1x3, 1x2, 1x1. And then the middle row is all 1x4s. And then same thing over here, just to get that kind of angular look. I think that looks really good. You can do this in a wood floor also, but I do have some techniques I think look better in wood, but you can do that in wood as well. Right here, another real simple one, but super detailed and looks really realistic when you look at it scale-wise with a minifig. 1x1 tiles, a whole lot of them. You'll learn pretty quick how few 1x1 tiles you have when you try to do a whole house in this. It takes a lot. I mean, this is 8x8, so 8 times 8, 64. And so, yeah, it uses up tile pretty quickly there in 1x1s. But it looks really good. I mean, with a minifig, this would kind of mimic like a 1x1 tile that you would see in someone's kitchen, bathroom, house, etc. You can also alternate the colors. I thought this would look better with white, but I didn't have that many 1x1 whites available at this time. So I used tan, which I think looks pretty cool. But a lot of different things you can do there. You can do this in black and white if you want like kind of that old-fashioned diner look or kitchen look. Up here, I think this one looks really cool. This is 1x2s, and this looks like stone. You can do this in other colors just to make it look like tile. It looks kind of like a brick wall. You could do this in dark red and make it a brick patio. A lot of things you could do with this, but really good looking technique as well, just staggering 1x2s and using 1x1s to fill in the ends. Now here we got some bigger tiling. This is a mixture of 2x4s and 2x2s, just staggered. Pretty much the same technique I did here with the thinner ones, but thicker. You can also do this in kind of more of a, cartwheel pattern, where you just have two going in each direction and make kind of a wheel look. I think that looks really cool. You can do this with the smaller tiles as well, but I think it looks good at the big ones. And again, these more complex patterns will look better the bigger you make them. So if you had a really large room, this would look really cool. In a small room, probably not so much because it's going to get interrupted a lot. You'll probably have to cut some parts off for walls and furniture and stuff, so you won't see the whole pattern. This is another kind of a way to do the same style here with a little more detail, and just doing, instead of two 2x4s, I do a 2x4, 2x3, and a 1x2 in the same kind of pinwheel pattern there. This floor I absolutely love, and you can do this so many ways. It looks awesome as one solid color, just kind of letting the lines do the detail work, where you take a 2x2 and then just surround it by 1x2s, fill in the holes with 1x1s, and it just looks for a really detailed tile pattern. I also love adding color to these. So this one I think turned out really cool. This is actually metallic gold on these and sand blue and white. Just a really stylish floor for like maybe an upscale building, maybe, I don't know, a church or a government building, something like that. This is one that's new to me. I was just playing around with these for this video and I thought this would be cool to try. I actually used ingots in there to kind of give the floor some texture. I don't like using textured floors too much inside buildings, but this looks pretty cool. I could use this in a building for sure, and just kind of give it some actual lines in the floor. You know, they're a little bit bigger, a little deeper grooves. I usually do more of this texture when I'm doing outdoor patios and things because then it looks more like stone, but I think that turned out pretty cool. Also keep in mind, all the floors I'm doing in this video are just flat tile floors. I'm not going to show any snot floors in this. I use snot floors occasionally, but I'm not a huge fan. They're hard to connect things to. They kind of really change the way you have to build the building. So I mostly just do flat floors like this, but you could definitely do snot floors. Maybe I'll do another video on snot floors, who knows. But let's go ahead and turn this around and look at some more like stone or wood options here. So ingots make for excellent bricks. Unfortunately, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that one of my beefs with Lego is they don't do the best colors to do brick. Dark red works okay for some styles of brick, but most brick is lighter. Like I think sand red would work really well for brick, but obviously they don't make ingots in sand red. They don't make anything in sand red anymore. Bring back sand red, please. But ingots look really cool for brickwork, and they're really common in tan. You can also get them in other colors, but they are pretty limited. I think I've only seen them in white, medium stone gray, black, and tan, and reddish brown. I think that's the only colors that come in. I might be wrong about that. They are adding more stuff every day, but these look really good as bricks. They give a ton of texture for an outdoor patio. I always talk about this large mock I did a while ago. I still have yet to show anyone, but I did an entire section with this, actually in this more herringbone pattern. But these look really cool. One of my big beefs, and this is definitely going to make it into my next video of parts that Lego needs to make, there's no 1x1 ingots. So if you're going to do this, you either have to figure out how to stick these under a wall or something. You can leave 1x1 plate and kind of give it a border. If that works in the mock you're doing, it won't always work in every situation to kind of cut it off. You could do the same thing with walls, but unfortunately no 1x1 ingots, so you're kind of stuck with getting creative on the ends. As you can see in here, I used some 1x1 tile. You can do that as well. It doesn't look great, but it looks okay. Up here I've got some wood patterns. So one of my favorite things to do with wood, and also I did these in medium nougat, mostly because I was kind of low on reddish brown. But medium nougat, reddish brown, and dark tan all work really well for wood. You can even do tan for wood if you want kind of a real natural look, like maybe a light pine. But these all are really good looking. Probably my favorite way to do wood floors is just the random pattern, where you just grab all kinds of sizes. The biggest ones I usually will do are 1x6, and then 1x1s, 1x2s, 1x3s, 1x4s, and just mix them all up, making sure that there's no lines connecting, so every joint is overlapped on both sides by other boards. And you just kind of do random pattern, and that's how a lot of flooring is laid. I've laid wooden floors before, and usually it's just a random assortment of lengths of boards, and you just make sure that none of the seams line up with the seam in the next row. So I think this looks super realistic. It works great in houses, older businesses, buildings, things like that, maybe a log cabin. This kind of plank look works really well. Here I've got a couple of what you might call parquet floors, where they have the more intricate multi-directional boards. So this one has like a 1x1 center surrounded by 1x2 plates, tiles, going in a circle, and you just kind of repeat that. So you do that circle, same thing around and around. And this is a floor that they actually make in wood, that you can find this in real life. You can also do more of a herringbone here, where you alternate, and that's the same thing I did on this ingot brick floor here. You just kind of alternate every direction and get that kind of nice angular look. I think it looks better in this almost than in the ingots there. This just looks really detailed. And this would be in like an older house, upscale house, fancier building where they would pay for an expensive wood floor. Really classic look with wood floor is to do this here. This also looks really good for like a deck. Is just make the seams symmetrical like this. So this is all 1x6 and 1x2. And obviously you'd have to vary this based on the length of it. But having your seams alternate like this, it's kind of the opposite of just the random laid board look, where here you have a really unified. And that's why this looks kind of more like a deck, where they have a little more rhyme or reason to how they lay them, as opposed to kind of an old oak floor where they would just kind of do the boards randomly as long as they don't have the seams lining up. So I think that looks really cool. I think that makes for a really good deck on a house. One thing I've done before, and I have a small tree house in my city that I use this technique for. And this would work good in like an old cabin, a rundown building, rundown house, rundown cabin. But doing just a random plank wood floor, where maybe you have some that are like painted, like the whole floor used to be this dark red. Then over the years, some of them kind of wore off, so you have like some tan, and maybe they had to put some replacements in, and they didn't paint them, so they got these brown ones, and maybe, okay, we scrapped a couple of gray boards and just threw them in there, and just doing it random. And I know in this small section, this might not look super realistic, but if you made this bigger and were really cautious about how you laid the colors, maybe having like splotches of red and then splotches of like damaged and replaced boards, and put a bunch of items on top of this kind of overlapping, like having a messier room, this will look really cool. You can do some really cool things with that. And especially if you're doing like more ultra realistic, dirtier, not as clean looking buildings, that's a really cool technique. Down here I've got some stonework. Now this is a piece that's newer to me. These are similar to the ingots, where they have the kind of chamfered edges here, and you can make these crosses. This to me looks like an awesome patio design. They have to be a little cautious, because if you put a bunch of furniture, you're going to cover portions of this and like kind of ruin the whole look. So you need kind of a large space to do this in. But I think that turned out really cool, where you have some deeper grooves here with this real detailed cross design. You could do this inside, maybe in like a church or a large government building. Not a whole lot of houses I think you could use this in. Maybe, who knows. You could also alternate the colors if you want it to look a little bit more like stone. I actually like the one color more than this, but you could definitely do it. You could play around with the color options here. I only had these pieces in gray. They're still kind of rare. I know there are other options out there, but I only own them in gray. And one of my favorite things to do here, this makes for an awesome patio. And all I did was alternate like old and new. So I've got the dark gray. It's just a random pattern. So I just kind of throw random bricks, just trying to make sure I don't have all the 2x2s next to each other and all the 1x2s and the 1x1s. And that's the only three bricks in there, 2x2, 1x2, and 1x1. And I just kind of do a random pattern mixing up the colors. I've got the old school dark gray, the new dark gray, and just a couple of 1x1s there in light gray just to break it up. And this in a large patio looks super cool. I mean, it really has a lot of detail to it. And not a lot of people maybe own these older bricks, but you don't see it used too much where they use both colors. And I think it can really create more detail. You can also use it with the old color of the light gray if you really want to mix it up. In a small sampling like this, I didn't want to go too crazy with the colors, so I kind of kept it a little simpler. If you didn't like the light gray, you could also pull that out and just do the two colors. But I really liked how that turned out. I think that's a good looking patio there. Well, that's all I got for this one. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do more videos just like this in the future. And we will see you next time.